Hello, welcome. All right, we're at video 3. We're on day 3, and we're going to talk about how to take action. But I'm excited that you have reconnected and taken the time to reconnect with that fearless, confident version of yourself that nobody could tell nothing. And we want to take that energy, and I want to make sure that we take action. Like I said, yes, and in the last video, that actions, they don't always have to be huge. Any action matters. Consistent action matters even more, right? And so we can have all of these grand plans, and a lot of the business books I read, everyone has a great idea. You've heard people say, I had that idea, but they didn't take action on that idea, and they didn't get the benefits and results of that idea. So taking action is the next most important part, and it's gonna be scary. It's gonna be scary. I'm gonna tell you right now, the first time. And then the next time you do it, it's a little less scary. And then the next time, it's a little less scary. And then you're like, oh, I was a little uncomfortable. And you're going to work your way to where it won't be as scary as you think it is right now. But you won't know till you do it, right? And you also won't know how good you're going to feel about yourself when you do this. Because I told you in the beginning, confidence is already in you. And you can only build it when you do something. All right. So I already kind of warned you that this is going to happen. I already kind of warned you that you got to do this. So that's what we're going to go. We're going to talk about how to be an action taker. So let's get going with this. All right. How to be an action taker. All right. So if you're watching this video, then you've already done this, right? And doing this is you have to be ready to take action. So you got to be willing and ready to do something different. You have to be in that place. I'm sick of this. I am done with this. I'm ready to do something different. Again, my different doesn't look like your different. And that's okay. But you have to be willing to do something differently. So based on what we've gone over, so we had you to identify your strengths. And then we had you identify what motivates you and help you get in touch with that version of yourself that's already in there, that for some reason has been beaten down a little bit, and people have convinced you that you're not that person, right? So we've already done that. And so today, talking about being willing to do things differently, now we're gonna bring them together, and we're going to talk about how to step into your action with something that is your strength. So not looking at anything, we can all go on and on and on and on about what we don't do well, what we're not good at. That's not what we're focusing on. We are taking what we know that we are good at, and now we're going to put action behind it. Now, this is where you got to go back to the first video and defining your strengths. What was the strength? What is the strength that you highlighted that you love to do, that you feel good doing, and you feel good about doing? And how are we going to take action of doing more of that in our world? And so I'm going to give you the example for me. So I'm a martial arts instructor. I build confidence. That's what I do. I do it because I had to do it for me. It's how I've chosen to take martial arts and use it as the confidence building tool that it is, and the personal development tool that it is. That's how I've chosen to use it. Now, when I first started to take action on pulling out these principles so that maybe someone who A, doesn't live near me, could never come to my martial arts school and be a part of my classes, or B, would never in a million years dream of stepping into my martial arts school to see and to take classes, right? Those are the reasons why I said, let me pull this out. How can I pull out what I'm really good at, right? And I know that I'm really good at it because I have success with it. Parents tell me all the time. Students tell me all the time. I see the results all the time. So I know this is my jam, right? That's why I'm the confidence coach. But pulling it out of the school and talking to people on it, I got slapped in the face. It was like I didn't block a punch coming to my nose. They said to me, this is a verbatim statement that I heard on multiple occasions, what does a martial arts teacher know about teaching about confidence? What does a martial arts teacher know about business principles? What does a martial arts teacher know about this? You're just a martial arts teacher. Man, I heard that, and I'm going to tell you the truth. I believed them for a second. I was like, well, what do I know about this? And I got really, really frustrated. This is before I wrote the book. This was just me like reaching out into the community to say, hey, I can do this thing for you. Like, I can come to your team. I can come to your office. I can work with your Scentsy team. I can work with your Mary Kay team, and I can help them find this. And they looked at me like I had grown a second head. And at first I was like, oh my God, maybe they're right. Maybe I do suck at this. But then I got mad. Okay, I got angry, right? To me, angry is like second level mad. It wasn't, sir. I was like, how dare they diminish what I do? And I talked to my instructor about it, who's been teaching twice as long as I have. And I asked him his opinion. And when I explained to him, he said, well, Tracy, you just need to write a book. And that's when I wrote my book. Now, I wanted to write a book since 2005 about similar topics for the same audience. But I never pulled the trigger because I had that imposter syndrome. I had that, well, why would they listen to me? What do I know? Why should they? But in this moment, when he said write a book, I went to argue and I had nothing. I totally had nothing. So I was willing to step on the journey to write the book, to do something differently, to start associating, having people associate me with confidence and understanding martial arts as my tool. So that's what I mean when I say you've got to do things differently. And then I learned through that process that not everybody does it the way that I do, which was like a second bit of aha. It's not me that's wrong. Like, they choose to do it differently, completely fine for them. So understanding that I choose to do it this way, it was like it fueled me and gave me even more confidence to keep taking action. And that's what's going to happen. I would never have known that had I not begun to write the book and then talk about the book. And that what I have realized, that people go, you do that? Well, how do you do that? Really? Okay, so the taking action and stepping onto it is so important. Now, this is important because I already shared with you, you have to change your relationship to failing. Because I could have let the initial negative reaction stop me and just said, oh, well, maybe no one's done this. Maybe they're not supposed to do it. And I could have taken it as failing, and I could have internalized that, and I could have let that impact me in a completely different way, right? But we get to choose. So just because they didn't understand it didn't mean it wasn't true. I knew it was true because I do it every day. I get to do it every day. And so when I sat down to write the book, even to this day, when people tell me they read my book, I kind of gird my loins, ready for like what they're going to say about it, because it still scares the crap out of me. But I know now my goal with the book was to help at least one person, and I know that I've done that. So if someone comes to me right now and they think it's horrible, then I just know it wasn't for them. But I do know that it has helped a lot of people, and that I can go. Now, failing is only failing if you choose to not learn from it. So you've got to change your relationship to failure. You've got to change the way that you view the outcome, right? It's just an outcome. So if I attempted this thing, I tried to pull it out, people told me, why should I listen to you? I could have stopped. I didn't, right? And then I went to write the book, and people were telling me, you're not going to write the book. Like, what do you know? Like, then it was, people didn't believe I was going to get the book written. And I wanted to quit a lot. But I knew I couldn't. And I told all of my students, I told the people around me that would hold me accountable to doing it, so that when I wanted to quit, I knew I couldn't look them in the face and say I didn't get it finished. Okay? That's how I used my network to fuel me forward, right? Going back to what we talked about in the last video, fueling yourself forward, so that they kept asking me. And look, the first draft I gave out was horrible, right? But I gave a deadline to myself and I did it. And then I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. But then I went back to the drawing board and I found something else. And I found something that helped me kind of put it together. And it was my first book. It's just like any first, John Maxwell said his book, he looks back at his book and cringes, right? But if there wasn't a first book, there can't be a second book. If there's not a first try, there's not a second try. And we're not going to get better at it until we put ourselves out there. So it's only failing if you don't learn. It's only failing if you don't look at the outcome and choose something different. All right, so change your relationship to failure. Call it something different if you have to, or just know that I think it was John Maxwell had it's an old series because it was on audio cassette, called Failing Forward. So if you're struggling with this, I would go find Failing Forward, and he talks about how to fail forward, it's not the falling down, it's how to get back up, dust yourself off and do it again, but better, not the same exact way. Change your conversation, change something, but don't think failure is an end. I think it's a Winston Churchill quote: failure is not fatal, and it's not fatal. Okay, but you just got to keep going. That's paraphrase, but that's my point. Okay, all right, enough on that. You must be willing to do the things that make you uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is what every successful person endures, right? It's like courage. It's not a lack of fear. It's doing it anyway. So think about some of someone that you admire that's famous. Michael Jordan is one I like to look at a lot. And a lot of people think that he didn't do the things that made him uncomfortable, right? But he did. He failed. He got kicked off a team early on. And it was the coach that told him, you can't come on my team until you prove that you have heart. Right? Carly Simon, singer, songwriter, she would still get stage fright before she got on stage every time. So go and research the person that you admire, and I guarantee you that they're going to show you that they had to constantly do something that made them uncomfortable to achieve what they achieved so that you would know who they are. So being uncomfortable, it's like failure. You have to get comfortable with that uncomfortable feeling. You just have to get used to having that feeling and knowing that it's normal and natural and it's a part of the process, and it's not gonna ever not be there. And if it's not there, I want you to know you're not pushing yourself enough. If it's not there, you're not doing something to help you grow. You're staying in something that's going to keep you stagnant, and it's not going to fulfill you or teach you or show you anything about yourself that you need to learn to keep going to that next level. All right. So the assignment with this week's video is something to help you get through that. It is a download for you. 7 strategies to make smarter and faster decisions, because sometimes it's pulling the trigger that stops us from taking the action. And so when you work through this book, when you work through this, you're going to see that you have some ways and patterns about you that you do and use and how you make decisions, and it's maybe making a small twist or a small tweak on your decision-making process that's going to help you get over the hump to take action, right? Or it's going to help you make the decision to take action, or make the decision that you're going to need to do with what you're trying to create with your skills, with your fearless, confident self, okay? So this is a tool that I want you to use to highlight what's stopping you now, and the one action. This is your first action step. Download this, highlight what's stopping you now, and one step that you're going to take and implement to make smarter and faster decisions. Nothing happens without action, ever. Okay? You've got to do something towards it. So, download the book, block off the time, give yourself a chance to not just read, but absorb. Identify where you are stuck, and then take that action to get unstuck. And I will see you in the next video. We're going to talk about putting it all together in a process. Putting it all together so this becomes a repeatable process for you, regardless of what you're doing, so that it doesn't matter where you are. You're going to know how to be more confident now. I'm so excited for you, and I'll see you in the next video.